today we start with the topic of solutions. What is a solution? Solution is nothing but the combination of a solute in a solvent. When you dissolve a solute in a solvent to give you a uniform mixture becomes what we call as a solution. What is a solute? What is a solvent? I take a glass of water and I add a little bit of salt to it. Salt, this is stirred and the salt dissolves in the water. This now becomes a solution. The salt here is the solute, the liquid here, that is water, is the solvent. This way we can have many different combinations. We can have sugar dissolving in water. In that case, sugar will become the solute and water will become the solvent. So, solute is the substance which is dissolved in the solvent. Please remember, I am using the word dissolved. Supposing I put sand in this water, you think the sand will dissolve? No. So, sand will not be a solute for this solution. It will not give you a uniform mixture. So, when we talk about solutions, it is a uniform mixture. No matter where I take the water from, it will have the same salty taste. It is uniformly dissolved, not uniformly added. That is where many of the students get confused. They will say, I wrote the correct definition, but the teacher did not give me marks. Because when you talk about marks, you need to have the correct terminology. So solute is a substance which is dissolved in another solvent. Solvent is the substance in which you dissolve the solute. Solution. As I said here, solution would be a homogeneous mixture. That is a uniform mixture of a solute in a solvent. When we say homogeneous, that means it has to be uniform. As I said, when we taste this salty water, it will have the same taste throughout. It will have the same appearance throughout. Mixture. Why a mixture? Because the substances are not chemically combined. They have not lost their individual behavior, their individual property completely. That is why it's a mixture. There are three categories of solutions. We have unsaturated, saturated, supersaturated. I have this solution of salt in water. I can add more salt to it, more will dissolve. More salt to it, more dissolves. At a room temperature, that means this solution is unsaturated. That means it still is hungry for more and more. Unsaturated, unsatisfied. So unsaturated solution is one which can dissolve. Please remember, I am not saying in which can add, no. Which can dissolve more amount of the solute at a specific temperature. Saturated. When I talk about saturated here, when we keep adding salt to the solution, a stage comes where no more solute can be dissolved in this at this temperature of the liquid. In other words, this now becomes saturated. This is happy. Yeah, I'm satisfied. My tummy is full. So that's saturated. That means it cannot dissolve more solute at a particular temperature. It's just like a stage when you're very, very hungry and you come home and you want to eat. So you eat whatever comes your way. So that time you want to eat more and more. So you're unsaturated. There comes a stage when your tummy is full and you can't have more. That becomes saturated. You're satisfied. Let's talk about a third type of solution, that is supersaturated. Now what do you think will happen if you get your favorite dessert in front of you after you're fully satisfied, your tummy is full, and you see your favorite ice cream on the table? Would you have it or would you leave it? Yes, we tend to have it. So then, although your tummy is full, you're still having more. So now you will become super saturated. So what do is, once this solution becomes saturated and I heat this liquid, what will happen is I will be able to dissolve more solute in it. And then we bring it down to the room temperature. When we bring it down to the room temperature, the extra amount of salt that we had dissolved still remains in it. So in other words, this liquid contains more than it can dissolve at a particular temperature. That is what we call as super saturated, super satisfied. It contains, or it has dissolved more amount of solute than it can dissolve at a particular temperature. How will we get the solute back? If in a super saturated solution we disturb that super saturated solution, or we add a little bit of the solute more at the room temperature or at the lower temperature, what will happen is we will find that all the excess solute that we had dissolved by heating will start separating out of the solution, and that is how crystals are formed. It will start separating out of it, and that is how we have the formation of crystals. Solubility is where we are talking about saturated. So your actual hunger was till the time you had your meal. So solubility. How much amount of the solute is required to make a saturated solution of 100 grams of a solvent at a specific temperature? Now these two words are very, very important over here in this definition. Why specific temperature? If you notice over here, just now I mentioned that if you heat a saturated solution, you can dissolve more amount of the solute in it. Hence, that means the solubility at lower temperature is different from the solubility at higher temperature. So when we define solubility, we have to mention the temperature. So how much amount of the solute is required to saturate? Again, if I have more water, I can dissolve more salt in this. So that is why we need to also specify how much amount of the solvent we are talking about over here. So we say amount of solute which we need to make a saturated solution from 100 grams of a solvent at a specific temperature is what we call as solubility. So if you notice over here, what are the factors which will affect solubility? Of course, we have the nature of the solute and the solvent. Then, if you notice over here, we have, of course, the temperature. As you notice, solubility changes with change in temperature. Another important factor that affects solubility is also the pressure. But this comes into place when we talk about gases. For example, very simple example, I'll give you a hint over here. You heat water. You will see bubbles rising from the bottom of the vessel coming to the top. What are those bubbles? Nothing but air which is dissolved in the water. So, on heating, the excess air releases out. Similarly, when you talk about soft drinks, there you open a soft drink can, immediately you will see a lot of effervescence or fizzing. What is that? That's gas dissolved in the liquid. So gases, the solubility of gases is also affected by changes in temperature and pressure. We shall continue with this topic, moving on to more complex things.